मैं हूं आपका होस्ट अमरेश सिंह और आज का जो टॉपिक है कम्युनिकेशन, मास्टरिंग द आर्ट ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन। इसके लिए आज हमारे साथ बहुत ही खास मेहमान हैं और क्या बोल सकते हैं उस मेहमान के बारे में। शी इज़ अ वेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट फॉर अस, फॉर आवर इंस्टीट्यूशन, इवन फॉर द सोसाइटी एज वेल। सो मिस सायरा शाह हालिम, प्लीज़ वेलकम मिस सायरा शाह हालिम। तो बाकी हम सायरा जी से सुनेंगे उनके बारे में, बट बिफोर दैट थोड़ा बता दें अपने इंस्टीट्यूट के बारे में। नेम इज़ बेसिकली नेशनल एकेडमी ऑफ मीडिया एंड इवेंट्स विच हैज़ बीन इन दिस मीडिया एंड एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री फॉर लास्ट 14 ईयर्स। हमने इवेंट मैनेजमेंट, एनिमेशन, वीएफएक्स से अपने कोर्सेज स्टार्ट किया था और आज इस मुकाम पे पहुँचे कि हमारे साथ हमारे कम से कम 600-700 स्टूडेंट्स यहाँ से प्रोड्यूस होकर निकल चुके हैं और इंडस्ट्री में काम कर रहे हैं। इन सारे इंडस्ट्रीज जैसे मीडिया, आर्ट, डिज़ाइन, फोटोग्राफी, वीडियोग्राफी, फिल्म मेकिंग, कम्युनिकेशन एंड आर्ट सेक्शन में, डिज़ाइनिंग सेक्शन में। अभी हमारे पास डीजे के भी कोर्स है, साथ में इवेंट इज़ आवर कोर कोर्स ऑल टुगेदर। तो ज़्यादा डिले नहीं करते इस सेशन को और स्टार्ट करते हैं सायरा जी के साथ। मैंने बहुत छोटा इंट्रो दिया है सायरा जी, तो चाहते हैं कि आपके अपने जुबानी से यू just come up with the story, like how you came into picture of expertise of media, expertise of the society, where you are giving lots of upliftment to the different genre, different section. Sure. तो इसके बारे में थोड़ा आप highlights करो.
So hi everyone. So good afternoon. Thank you so much, Amaresh ji. So some of you, of course, you know that we've interacted before, of course. So I've been in corporate booths for more than 17 years, primarily in training and communication development roles. I worked with Wipro Kolkata Sector 5 as a senior trainer, so I had all kinds of shifts. So those days I was training people in communication for Dell and HP, and I used to have night shifts as well. So I used to walk into a batch. So the training department was called talent transformation. So the people who certified us were from the US or from the UK, dependent on what kind of people you're training and which process you're training. So getting through a certification by these multinationals is not an easy task. It was very difficult because you had to pass through Six Sigma. You had to get certified in various certifications to actually take on a batch. And I used to take about 3-4 batches a day. So you can imagine how strenuous it is. That means you're taking a batch for consecutive 6 to 7 hours in communication. So I've been certified even in voice and accent training. We used to do a bit of process training and mainly communication, which is known as CTK. That means Communication Toolkit. Now when we talk about Communication Toolkit, what do we mean by communication? And why do you think it's so important in our everyday lives? So some people think learning accent means you have to put on a fake accent, put on an American accent, or put on a British accent. But again, I'm iterating here. The idea is not to put on a fake accent. The idea is not to put on an American accent or to put on a British accent. The idea is to neutralize the sounds. You know what is sound neutralization? Now the idea is that when you speak, or when you speak, or when I speak, or whoever speaks, the idea is people should ask you, where are you from? Which side of India you're from? The moment you speak, people say, okay, you're from Punjab, right? Yeah, I could make out you have a Punjabi accent. Why would you allow someone to ask you that? Or someone says, oh, okay, I can make out that you're from the Northeast because there's a surf-shore interchange. Oh, so you're from Northeast, right? Or somebody asks you, oh, okay, you have a very Bengali accent. So why should people know where you're from? That is the idea of accent neutralization, that you speak in a manner which is a global accent, which is easily understandable to whoever you're speaking to. You're speaking to someone who is from Britain, you're speaking to someone who's from America, they should say that your accent is very global and you're easily understandable. So here in communication, we tell you how to lower your rate of speech. Because in India, the issue is we feel that we need to speak fast. But again, I'm telling you, we don't need to speak fast. We need to lower our rate of speech and speak very slowly and very deliberately. Now, if you see how we speak in vernacular languages. We speak very fast. आज का क्या प्लान है? कल क्या खा रहे हो? कल का क्या प्लान है? कल क्या खाया? आज के की कोरबे. So we are speaking very fast in Hindi, Bengali and Punjabi and all that. So what happens is there's a transliteration happening in our mind and we start speaking in English the way we speak in vernacular languages. Okay, where are you going? What is your plan for today? No. Calm down. The idea is, what is your plan for tomorrow? What are you eating tonight? So here what I'm doing is I am stretching the vowel sounds. I'm stressing the vowel sounds. So now why people say you have a Punjabi accent, I'll tell you why. Because people in Punjab, the consonant sounds are very hard hitting. So the th will become t. The d become d. Okay, so now I'll give you an example. वो table पे वो रख देना. Table is t. So table. So now the easy way to do is I'll give you an exercise. You put your palm out and put it in front of your mouth. Everyone do that. Put your palm out. Now you breathe. Take the air out and feel the air. It should be gushing on the hand. So say t, p, t, p. P, t, k. P. So it's not penny, it is penny. It is not river Thames, it is river Thames. P, t, k. It's not king of Scotland. It's king of Scotland, of king of England. So it's not king, k. So it's not k, it is k. So here we are just stressing on neutralizing the sounds, teaching you how to speak better. A lot of people have cold feet when giving a public speech or speaking publicly. How many of you have cold feet? How many of you get nervous when you're asked to give a public speech? Go up and speak on any topic under the sun. It could be a very easy topic on democracy, or you could talk about why I'm a liberal, or you could talk about where would you like to go on the in the next vacation. It could be a very simple topic, 1 minute. But I've seen a lot of people get cold feet. They otherwise speak very well, but you tell them, you give them a mic, you give them a podium, they will develop cold feet. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think, Rachna, why do you think people get cold feet in public speaking? You just have to speak very impromptu, but the idea is content is key. We need to understand that, and as Amaresh sir was saying, it's not about English. Whatever language we are speaking in, we have to speak fluently. Once we mix up Hindi and English, वो क्या हो जाता है? That is English, bro. We don't want to speak English. अगर आप हिंदी में बात करें, शुद्ध हिंदी में बात करें. If you're speaking in English, make sure you're speaking in fluent English. Don't mix up the languages. That is another thing about communication. And if you haven't mastered the art, there's a way. There's a way of mastering it, and we will tell you that in further workshops. They'll tell you how you can master the art of public speaking. Because public speaking will not come, in a matter of... Sorry, I didn't get your name, sir. Yeah. Shoaib. Okay, nice meeting you, Shoaib. So the idea is that we need to learn how to speak flawlessly with conviction and with confidence. Don't get jittery. In my classes also, I've told everyone the idea is don't get jittery. Tomorrow you all will be addressing a press conference. Tomorrow you will be giving a PPT presentation. Yeah. You will be doing a presentation. So the idea is, what is key? A is body language. Now we'll just demonstrate very simple things about body language. Now, even for a simple shake hand, people come forward and they shake hands in a very limp way, Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
So the handshake has to be firm. It shouldn't be limp. Stand up. Your body language has to be, stomach in, chest out. What is the need to get nervous? Because moment we start getting nervous, our whole system, we get very jittery. The idea is to have a positive body language, shake hands, the handshake has to be firm, and then speak. Some of you, in the beginning, you remember you all were feeling a little jittery, but as the classes progress, everybody opens up because of the habit of speaking, impromptu, extempo. Now, the idea is not to give you all time, 1 minute, 2 minutes to think. Initially, we can do that. But as we progress, the idea is to speak about anything. You can speak about cricket, speak about politics, whichever side of the fence you're from. You speak about Bollywood, critique a movie, be a good conversationalist, and most importantly, how effective are you in communication at your workplace? Because why do you think when you float your CV around, people ask, there's a very big definition. People ask, we want people with good communication skills. Even if you're a doctor, even if you're a scientist, even if you're a technical person, any idea why people ask for communication skills? Why is it so important?
Why communication is so important in society आज के दौर में? मीन्स और इसका डेफिनेशन बहुत के पास बहुत कुछ है, आपने इसको बहुत अच्छे से डिफाइन भी किया है, ओके, बट इसमें जो इफेक्ट होता है, पीपल आर रियली डोंट नो व्हाई इट इज सो मच इम्पॉर्टेंट इन आवर सोसाइटी, इन आवर लाइव्स, इन places where we are walking, in places where we are having friends, in a different zone where we find that it is very necessity to keep relationship. आज के दौर में ये सारे spaces हैं, इसमें communication का importance कहाँ है? So can you just give a small highlight, then we move on to the next question.
Sure. So firstly, we need to understand that why communication. Today, if I tell you what is the most important vehicle of communication, what do you think is the most important vehicle?
मैं बता दूं, vehicle का मतलब है the medium.
Carrier, medium.
The carrier.
तो जो आप carrier का इस्तेमाल करते हैं communication का, वो सबसे ज़्यादा अहम कौन सा vehicle है? What is the most important medium of communication?
Can you have answer from anyone?
Yeah.
Telephone calls.
Sorry?
Telephone calls.
Telephone. Okay. Anyone?
I think
Yeah.
WhatsApp. WhatsApp has become
Okay.
You mean to say
Social media. So that is the most important medium of communication. Okay. So supposing using social media platform, you're using WhatsApp. And आप जैसे याद है who is from the BlackBerry generation, जब BlackBerry use होता था, इस्तेमाल होता था, तो BlackBerry में हम लोग वो फट we used to put those words, we used to kind of use those abbreviations.
Yeah, 30-40 keys.
Exactly. So we used to have those 30-40 keys. So in the 30-40 keys, we were sending messages, right? So in those 30-40 keys, do you think you were clear about what you're trying to convey? We were not, right? Because what was the impediment here? What was the barrier? The barrier was communication. So when we talk about what is the most important medium of communication, that is language. I might be very good in Italian, but you understand German. So would you be able to understand what I'm speaking? No. So let me tell you, because I've been taking part in Hindi debates for the last
you have been a part of literary fest as well.
So now for the last 9-10 years, I've been on national media in English and Hindi debates. अब हिंदी आप डिबेट कर रहे हैं, so now you're talking about statistics. No, you need to know the word statistics का क्या हिंदी शब्द है, आंकड़े निकालिए. So with me talking every day in Hindi, in the Hindi debates, that brushed up my Hindi skills.
मैंने आपने बहुत अच्छा फोकस किया कि आप जो बोल रहे हो उसका मीनिंग पता होना चाहिए. जैसे आज हम लोग कम्युनिकेशन पे बात कर रहे हैं, तो कम्युनिकेशन का मतलब क्या होता है? अगर जनरल लैंग्वेज में बात करें तो संचार,
साधन. हम क्या कहते हैं, व्हीकल क्या है, साधन क्या है. So don't assume just because I'm speaking to you in English in class, मुझे हिंदी नहीं आती, मुझे बहुत अच्छे से आती है. Okay.
Yeah.
I can read and write in Bengali also. So that the idea is, if you're speaking in a language, speak in it properly. Okay, and there is a way of learning it, if you still haven't learned it, is by training yourself in your communication. And as Amaresh is saying, communication not only speaking, it is also non-verbal. Verbal communication हम लोग कितना इस्तेमाल करते हैं? So we communicate daily through our non-verbal communication. That is 80% of the time we are not even talking. So how do we communicate then if we are not talking? I want somebody to answer this. Supposing we are not talking 80% of the time, how do we communicate when we are not talking?
Body language.
Yes, yes. Through a non-verbal communication. Now I can see all of you are participants. I might not be staring at you, but if you've noticed, I'm making eye contact with all of you at least for a couple of seconds, everyone, so that you all understand and I understand that you are present in the class. So eye contact is very important. Now eye contact doesn't mean you're going to stare, because staring is bad.
Right.
But making eye contact is very important so that everyone understands that we all collectively are present in the class. So please make eye contact if you're addressing a class, you're addressing a press conference, you're taking a session, you are conducting a PowerPoint presentation, boardroom talk, whatever. There might be 20 participants, there might be 30 participants. It's not easy to make eye contact with 200 people, but yes, you can. होता है ना निगाह एक सेकंड के लिए you just kind of drop the thing. So वहाँ पे present होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. People need to understand that everybody is present. Secondly, what is your body language? Is your voice loud enough? So see, I might be having this thing here, okay, cordless, but the way you speak, it should reach the far end of the room without a mic. That is how audible you should be. That is how clear you should be. Every consonant that you speak, every syllable, every vowel sound should be very clear. Your speech should not sound garbled. Now, what is the meaning of garbled?
Distorted.
Distorted. That means when your train of thought is not clear, your voice sounds garbled. That means you end up jumbling up the words that you're trying to convey. So as Rachna ji was saying, the idea is train of thoughts, you have to know the content like the back of hand. आप किस topic पे बात करेंगे? If you don't know the topic, you will not be able to speak. So today, if I've given you a free speech that my favorite holiday destination, so you have to now understand, okay, my favorite holiday destination can be Puri, it can be Bangkok, it can be Delhi, it can be Darjeeling, it can be anything. तो उसके बारे में आप सोचिए थोड़ा. Think about it. And then when you've thought about it, you have collated your thoughts, then go and talk about it. But if you're going to go on the mic, if you're going to go on the podium and you don't know what you're talking about, you will fumble. You will sound jittery. The first is correct thought pattern. No fillers, foghorns. Now, what are fillers and foghorns?
And like and but.
Yes. Yes, like, but. So when we speak, why do we end up saying like, but,
just talk about to fill the gap between
exactly,
the sentences.
To fill the gap
right.
between the sentences.
Right.
These are fillers. We are not able to phrase. So please, consciously keep in mind not to use any fillers. And we use a lot of vernacular fillers. Mane, matlab. What is it? It is foghorns.
Right. Like
Okay.
we have not thought,
Yes.
and we are speaking because we don't have that idea that what need to be spoken right now, right? So basically, she is trying to say that first you have to collate all the ideas, because ideas are imaginary actions which transform into your speech.
Right.
थ्रू योर थॉट प्रोसेस. ओके, बिकॉज जब तक आप उस पर ऑब्जर्व नहीं किए हो, चीज़ों को इमेजिन नहीं कर रहे हो, तब तक वो आपके वॉइस से निकलेगा नहीं. एंड इट हैज़ टू बी वेरी इम्प्रॉम्प्टू व्हेन यू आर टॉकिंग टू पीपल. ओके, तो मैम आप तो पूरा एकदम डेप्थ में बता रहे हो, बट मुझे बस थोड़ा सा सिंपल करना है, बिकॉज द सेशन इज़ वेरी स्मॉल. इट्स जस्ट 1 hour सेशन, और कम्युनिकेशन इज़ लाइक यू कांट ending up the entire endless things, because इसमें कम से कम 15-20 आपको सेशन लेने पड़ते हैं, तब जाके you understand the process of communication. because अभी आप 30, 40, 50 years के भी हो, बट आपको अभी तक पता नहीं. that means आप एक स्टेज ऑफ लाइफ कवर कर चुके हो, and at this stage you are still trying to understand the process of communication.
Correct.
तो वो 30 years में आपने जो गलतियाँ किया है, वो आप 10 classes में भी नहीं सीख सकते. We are trying to focus on some points. The first point I would like to ask Saira ji, like how communication flows. what are the process of communication?
Yeah.
Can you just tell the audience who
Sure.
are viewing the entire session,
Sure.
please?
So see, when you're communicating, there's a sender that sends out a message, whether you're speaking or whether you're receiving the message. So there's a sender and there's a receiver. So the idea is you should allow the sender to speak or to communicate the message without interrupting. Okay, moment you interrupt, that means you have kind of disrupted the whole flow of communication. So the idea is that you have to be a good listener, because communication is not only about speaking, it is also the art of being a good listener. Because here physically, we are physically present, but we are hearing the communication. How many of us actually listen to the communication? Aapko, do you know the meaning between hearing and listening? Any idea?
Paying heed to the conversation properly, trying to understand.
No, she is trying to say hearing and listening.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
It's just whatever is the conversation going on, you're taking over.
Exactly.
Listening is you are interpreting inside.
Absolutely. So when the mind kicks in, that is known as listening. See, now I don't understand Italian. I'm in a room, so I'm of course using my ears, right? So I'm hearing it, but am I listening? I cannot listen because I cannot comprehend the message of the communication. Only when your mind actively kicks in, when you're actively listening, it is known as active listening. Passive listening hota hai, baithe hue hain, you're listening, somebody is talking, but your mind is not kicked in. So this is the difference between active and passive listening. When your mind kicks in, you have to be very quick to decode what the sender is saying. And then you reciprocate, and then you're going to communicate back. So when a message is being sent out, either through email, either spoken mode or written mode, the idea is that how do you communicate back? You must have learned it in class, or you must have heard it, that within 15 minutes, if somebody sends you a text or an email, you're supposed to be replying back to that communication. So today, communication has become multifold. We use multimedia tools.
Definitely.
We're using social media. We've learned etiquette. What are the etiquettes that we need to apply when we're using the cyberspace? Yes, so there are a lot of do's and don'ts on what we need to keep in mind when we're communicating, because communicating earlier used to be through snail mail. It used to be through the phone, STD calls,
messages,
ISD messages.
pager पे भी communication आते थे पहले,
था.
right? You just have 2 words or 3 words in a pager and you get the entire message. Means you have to decode कि 2 word में आपको पूरा message को decode करना है.
Yes.
So pager was the medium of communication. तो मैम का कहने का मतलब ये है कि the person who is sending the message, the person is termed as sender, okay, and the person who is receiving the message, the person is receiver. बट बीच में जो टर्म टेक्निकल टर्म यूज होता है उसको बोलते हैं इनकोडर. द सेंडर हु इज सेंडिंग द मैसेज और इंफॉर्मेशन, दैट इज इनकोडर, एंड द पर्सन हु इज रिसीविंग, द पर्सन इज बेसिकली डिकोडर. द पर्सन इज डिकोडिंग द मैसेज एंड इंटरप्रेटिंग द मैसेज. उसके बाद जो उनका नेक्स्ट वर्क होता है गिविंग अ फीडबैक. सो फीडबैक इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट आई गेस. सो व्हाट आर द रोल ऑफ फीडबैक? इसमें कहाँ प्रॉब्लम हो जाती है?
सो व्हाट वी डू इज, आई हैड told you guys that there's something known as paraphrasing. Okay, so paraphrasing is parroting back the message as you heard. Now, parroting doesn't mean word by word verbatim, but supposing you're on a call or you're in a meeting. Okay, it's a one-on-one interface. Now you're the listener, the other person is the sender or the talker. So the person tells you that I have a complaint with your product. I have tried to use your detergent, however your detergent is very bad. You have put it in the washing machine and all my clothes are still dirty, it's not being able to clean the clothes properly. So now the receiver says, from what I can understand, Mr. So-and-so, that you use our special detergent and somehow the clothes are not clean. Is that right? So it's a very simple thing. So what you're doing, you're paraphrasing the whole thing, and the person also understands that you've understood the gist of the problem. So whenever you're the listener, always paraphrase. Paraphrase means that you're going to repeat the gist of the problem or the issue to the person concerned, so that you both are on the same page and the customer or the other end of the customer gets a verbal nod. Now, what is a verbal nod? It could be yes, correct, that's right. This is known as a verbal nod. Verbal nod necessarily doesn't mean yeah.
You mean to say conclusion.
Conclusion
Of the entire paraphrase means आपने जो feedback दिया, and the person who is receiving the feedback again revert back with an action.
Yes.
Then the person will either conclude, or again if it is a problem, then again he or she look for solutions.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If the solution is not encountered yet, then it still goes on.
Yeah.
The mode of communication still goes on until unless there is a conclusion of yes or no.
Yeah.
It has to be ended to some point.
Yeah.
जब तक नहीं होता है, and you have to be very much impromptu towards giving a feedback. The feedback can be given by the sender, can be the decoder in also, the receiver also. तो technically बहुत हम लोग इसके depth में जा सकते हैं, but we have short time. So let's go to the next point we want to discuss. तो इसके बीच में बहुत सारे barriers आते हैं, right? So barriers of communication, how to overcome? Now in today's world, we have many stages of life, right? Like we have to ask our mother कि मुझे भूख लगी है. A small child, how the small child communicate with mother? Okay, जब उसको भूख लगती है, then the child grows up, right? Again the child has to go to school. School में उनके टीचर के साथ कम्युनिकेशन होता है, फिर उनके peers होते हैं, right? Friends zone and all. So how the child become good communicator through that peers. Then college में जाता है, then professional world में enter करता है. So can you just give a idea or solution कि इसमें हर जगह पे उसके जो problems आएंगे, how to overcome that?
See, when we talk about the challenges we face as communicators, the major challenge that we face is that we speak very fast, and that is the feedback that we get. So the idea is to lower the rate of speech. If I start speaking fast to you, what is your name? How is your class today? How is your class today? What is your name? So I'm speaking very slowly and deliberately. The idea is to speak very slowly, very deliberately. Yeah. And second is, we mentioned no foghorn fillers to be used. Third is correct thought pattern. What are you thinking? What is it that you want to convey? What is it in your brain that you want to convey? That is very important. Fourth, another thing is why we get stuck is because English is not a mother tongue, right? So we think in a different language.
Definitely.
So by the time we speak,
most people don't know कि हमारा जो thought process होता है, जो brain में build up होता है, वो हमारे mother tongue में. Do you guys know? I already told you in class कि हम जो सोचते हैं, जो thought होते हैं, जो ideas आते हैं,
mother tongue में सोचते हैं.
mother tongue में सोचते हैं. But when you interpret into a language, you are trying to interpret in a language which is not known to you. तब वो problem होती है. That becomes also a barrier in communication.
Yes, it is a big
आप
barrier.
reflect नहीं कर पाते हो, आप बता नहीं पाते हो, आपके speech में वो आती नहीं है सही से, and you won't be able to give the proper encoding, proper information, proper message. इसलिए आपका जो सेल्स में आपको इफेक्ट चाहिए, आपके जो पब्लिक स्पीकिंग है उसमें इफेक्ट चाहिए, वो इफेक्टिव नहीं हो पाती. सो शी इज ट्राइंग टू हाईलाइट दैट पॉइंट. तो प्लीज मैम.
So now we talked about the transliteration process. Amaresh ji was saying. Now how do we get over the transliteration process in the language we want to master? It can be Hindi, it can be English, it can be any language, but we need to be good communicators. So the idea is to think in that language. That's the only way, only solution. And you need to read books. Unless until you don't read books.
That's a very important question and point to highlight now.
How many of you read books?
I guess 10% in a crowd read books nowadays. If the crowd is younger generation, mostly they read, I think, non-fiction. Fiction, non-fiction. The idea is even newspapers today. A lot of you read newspapers on the net, right? But as per my analytics, I guess that 10% of any crowd read books nowadays. पहले ये 50% हुआ करता था, but now it becomes 10% because पहले सभी newspaper भी पढ़ते थे.
Now they're not reading.
Now there's no newspaper at all. You have information only about the news, the highlights in your mobile, obviously.
So the idea is to do both. We are millennials. Like millennials are what? Like people who are
Gen Z.
So being somebody who's kind of a millennial, so what we do is we do both. We do read the newspaper. I like that feel of Telegraph and Times of India with my morning cup of tea. I read a lot of news because I'm very active on Twitter. Because the media keeps tagging me, I have to retweet, then I have to put my own views out there. So I'm very active on social media, but at the same time very traditional, and I use newspapers. I do read, because a lot of news that you miss out on the internet, you get it in the newspaper. So what I'm saying is that you guys are much younger, so what you all need to do is use both the methods, because print, all said and done, you might say whatever that I'm reading on Kindle, I read this book on Kindle. Print will never go out of fashion. You will never see an Oxford bookstore that's gone dead, or you will never see the story that is on Elgin Road gone. So books will always be available, no matter how much chat GPT you might do, but use artificial intelligence. But when computers came out, people were scared that, the computers will take away our jobs.
Right.
But it created more jobs. It expanded.
Same, it will happen with the AI, I guess.
Exactly.
It will create lots of
jobs.
Because, again, it's a tool of communication.
Yes, it's a tool of communication.
Right.
It's not replacing man. It's not replacing the human race, right? It is a tool of communication. It will generate more jobs.
Ultimately, it will become a platform.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So, ma'am, barriers, you have already given some ideas and inputs. So, medium of communication.
Yeah.
Okay. So, we are trying to highlight like radio, newspapers. Mostly, let's focus on some professional world. Like people are working nowadays, and they go office. They have their own farm as well, their own company. They have employees to address. Even employees have to address some public in sales. So, how मीडियम ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन भी इम्पैक्टफुल इन दोज फॉर्मेट, लाइक जैसे आप बोल सकते हो कि अगर मैं सेल्स करने गया, मैं अपने एक प्रोडक्ट के लिए सेल पे गया हूँ एंड आई हैव टू गो डोर टू डोर, ओके, even I have to sell in a public, there's a group of people, I have to sell it. So what would be the effective way of communication? उसको क्या करना चाहिए?
So when you go out door to door, is known as a cold call. Okay, when you make an appointment, it is you made an appointment, you've reached there. Now cold call, there's a different mode of communication. Now today somebody approaches me, like I am walking at Park Street, ma'am, we want to sell this. I will not listen to that person. I'll be like, no. So when you're approaching somebody for something, ma'am, can I please have a minute's time, please? I need to explain you this. So everyone, you need to understand, they want to ask, what's in it for me? Why will I stop for a minute to listen to you? So you have to sell that what's in it for me, WIFM, within that 2-3 seconds that you get. Other people will not listen to you. You ring doorbells, you approach a person with a pamphlet, booklet, even on the internet, public.
If you are not very much effective towards communication, the public will also not listen.
So those 2-3 seconds that you've got, you have to establish the communication, because they're not interested in talking to you. You have to communicate in a manner that I'm doing this for your interest. I have called you because I'm concerned about you. Today I've called you from the bank. I'm selling you a credit card, not because I need to meet my targets. You have to show the customer you need it.
Right.
And why do you need it? Now you walk into a salon. Today I say I want to get my I want to get a facial. Ma'am, aap balon ka ye kara lijiye, wo kara. What is that called? It's called upselling. So today, if a person comes to a restaurant with the target, I'm going to spend 2,000 rupees, you will be effective communicator if you manage to get 5,000 out of that customer. Whether he's come to your salon, whether he's come to a bookstore, whether he's come to get some services, at a restaurant, the idea is you have to upsell it, but not कि मुझे पैसे की ज़रूरत है और I need to make my sales target. Ma'am, this is going to be very good for you. Why is it going to be good for you? Ma'am, because if you're going to order this, along with this much is free. Today you're going to order this is the deal that you're getting, deal. So the customer is not interested whether you have met your target or not. In those couple of seconds, you have to establish the WIFM capital letter में लिख लीजिए आप. What's in it for me? So today as communicators, tomorrow you're going to sell a deal, you want to crack a deal. The idea is always think of the person, empathy. And I'm telling you superficially mat kariye. आप empathize करिए कि okay, I'm going to hit a sales target. I'm meeting my sales target, but at the same time, I also need to empathize with the customer.
Right.
I cannot just take
it's
him for
not
a ride.
about sympathy, it's about empathy. Sympathy में क्या होता है कि हम खुद के दुखड़ा सुनाने लगते हैं,
हाँ.
and we are trying to sell out, right?
Absolutely.
Empathy में क्या होता है कि you have to showcase something that you need it, but not in a way that you are trying to drag your personal issues and you are trying to sell out, right?
Absolutely.
तो बात करते हैं कि अभी जैसे we have lots of courses, okay, in our institute, like we have event management, we have wedding planning, we have photography, filmmaking, music and DJing, right, music production. So every genre, every category, there are students, and every student has to have a different communicator,
right,
as per the requirement. अब जैसे event में the person who are learning event management, they have to sell their project or their ideas to the clients. तो वहाँ पे either they will encounter with a single person who is the brand head or the marketing head of a company. So taking the presentation to the person and just asking about sponsorship कि सर मुझे 10 लाख रुपए दे दीजिए, मेरा ये इवेंट आने वाला है. So will it happen? Will it be a right way of communication?
No.
So what the person should follow in that context?
So now today you have gone to a client, you're selling them a destination wedding. Okay, you're an event planner, you're selling. तो ये मेरा target है, मेरे boss मेरे से नाराज हो जाएंगे. I need to meet the target. They're not interested. You have to tell them that, oh, you're planning a destination wedding, so I've got a deal for you. So आप वहाँ जाएंगे ना, आपको इतना होगा. But today, if you go to work with us, we are going to, you give the breakup of what your services are,
right,
how much you're offering them, okay, and how much discount you're offering. Even if there's no discount, you have to create manage a discount where you're showing that you're going to get a very good deal out of us. So now it will all depend on how effective a communicator you are. You have to, as a salesperson, sales executive, you have to be very quick in your thinking. You have to come back with a close. You know what is a close? Coming back with a close means you've cracked the deal and you've come back. So
getting the check done.
Yeah. So आपको एक rapport create करना होगा. You know, rapport creation. What is rapport? RAPPORT. So you have to create a rapport with your client.
So rapport creation के चक्कर में आप एक महीना मत लगा देना.
एक महीना मत लगा देगा.
Will be out of job.
Out of job हो जाएगा. वो first meeting में हो जाता है.
Right.
So would you like to have a cup of tea? बैठिए sir, coffee. एक rapport, make the person feel comfortable.
I think हम लोग भी अभी भी sales करते हैं. पहले से भी sales person ही रहे हैं. So we know that what the clients required. उनके एक मतलब बोल सकते हो soft corner.
Absolutely.
We try to analyze on the soft corner. We research prior hand कि मैं किसके पास जा रहा हूँ. Which client I am going to address today, and what the client belongs to. Okay, which industry, उसका job role क्या है, वहाँ पे क्या उसका emotional points है, and what he wants from this pitch today. Okay, तो वो अगर आप analyze कर लोगे, research कर लोगे, your half work is done. Because until unless you know your customer, you won't be able to crack the deal. तो पहले आपको knowing the customer, what's in my pocket is, okay, मेरे पास क्या है, मेरे presentation में क्या है for the customer. That has to be very important part in your presentation, in your speech, right? तो पहले आप customer को जानो. तो sales का ही बात कर रहे हैं. You have been a person in branding as well,
and
right?
Marketing and branding.
तो आपको क्या लगता है आज के दौर में like people are not too much dragging towards sale. They try to pull customer through branding, right? They don't go and push sales because आजकल वो push sales वाला option थोड़ा कम ही रह गया. You hardly see people are selling door to door. They are very less nowadays. पहले बहुत होता था. We have seen FMCG sector, but अब तो full selling हो गया. People drag through social media attention. People drag through Google से आप research करके देख लेते हो. तो इसमें क्या important हो गया आज के communication?
See, firstly, A is never hard sell. Hard sell होता है ये ले लीजिए, कोई नहीं लेगा. Idea is soft selling. You have to understand, the more understated you are, the better it will make your product sell. The idea is you're going to recommend something. हार्ड सेलिंग होती है ये खरीदिए आप. Recommendation is something else. I'm recommending that you do this. Even you go to a salon, the hairstylists, if they start hard selling you, nobody's going to buy. So, ma'am, आपका hair थोड़ा dry हो गया, आप hair spa क्यों नहीं कराते? This is what.
Even they emotionally drag your attention कि ये तो 2-3 दिन में आपके बाल बहुत खराब होने वाले हैं और 1 महीना में हो सकता है गिरने भी लगे. So that level they play with your emotions. So emotions are very important to catch, right? You have to catch the emotions.
See, you all are in the field of event, right? Event management. So tomorrow you will have to sell concept. What is concept selling? Yeah, you will be selling concepts. So concept is not something that is in your hand. Okay, it is something you're selling an idea. You're selling an ideation. So now you're going to go with the customer with a certain plan in your mind that you're going to sell them a certain event. And what idea, you've already ideated what that idea is. Today you're not selling a pen. You're not selling a tangible product. You're selling them a dream, you're selling them an idea. So when you go with an ideation, you have to ensure that that concept gets sold. That is what advertising agencies do. They sell an idea, right? What do you think these marketing agencies do?
Definitely.
Ma'am, there'll be a billboard, there'll be a signboard, there'll be a signage, social media, it'll be this. So people want to know what's in it for me. So today, we are not using the traditional modes of marketing. What do you think? Why do you think the influencers are really earning a lot of money on Instagram? Why? Because they've realized getting a Kareena Kapoor will be very heavy on the pocket. So they've got these 5-6 influencers where the reels will go viral on social media. Rather pay money there, it will save them money.
Because they create story with a particular topic. So storytelling is the process of communication.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So they sell stories. They only sell stories.
So earlier, when we had to apply for a job, there used to be a newspaper called Ascent that used to come, Times of India.
Right.
People used to look at Ascent. But today, it's everywhere. People used to go on monster.com and naukri.com, and people don't use those traditional modes. People are using social media in a very, very
even
big
LinkedIn is the medium of job portal.
Social media.
Right.
So what I'm saying is today, all of you can be very active, but even using social media, you have to know how to use social media to sell your product. Or even if you want to be an influencer, it takes a lot of struggle, but you can do it. And you don't need to look like a model to do it. Anybody can be a social media, but you have to know how to use social media. You have to know it. If you want to crack Twitter, what is a Twitter game? Twitter game is different. You want to crack Instagram, what is the Instagram game? What is the Facebook game?
Knowing the platform.
Right. You can't put your Twitter content onto Instagram.
Right.
Or Facebook content into,
Twitter is all about, I guess, 60
politics,
words.
Tweeting, ideas, views. So you can't put that on Instagram. The numbers will not work. Instagram encourages branding.
Right.
So you have to brand something. You have to use that tool effectively. So you have to understand the social media game also, how to get followers. That is also a communication.
So let's concise the entire thing. Like we started with the process of communication, then we overcome with the barriers of communication, right? Like how to encounter barriers. Like barriers के कोई end up नहीं है. It can be a technical barriers, it can be a like feedback में आपका कुछ रुकावट आ रहा है. Okay, it can be a social barrier, it can be a personal barriers. किसी को मैं चाह रहा हूँ कि मैं कुछ समझाऊँ, the person is not trying to understand. It can be like the person is not a good listener, or maybe I am not able to put my message forward, a clear message. तो हम लोग जानते हैं इस कम्युनिकेशन में 7 C's होते हैं, जिसमें क्लियर, कंक्रीट, कंसाइज, कंप्लीट, ये सारे C's इन्वॉल्व होते हैं, राइट? तो इसको मिला के ही तो कंटेंट होते हैं, राइट?
Absolutely.
So it's all about content.
Absolutely.
So how important your content should be? Because हम लोग एडवर्टाइजिंग फील्ड का बात किए, इवेंट फील्ड का बात किए, फिर म्यूजिक भी हमारा एक कोर्स है, राइट? म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री में भी कंटेंट बनते हैं. Then we have photography.
Right.
So photography में तो सबसे toughest medium of communication है, जिसमें आपको फोटो खींच के communicate करना पड़ता है to sell it.
Yeah.
Then filmmaking, it's
Absolutely.
also is the upgraded version of communication,
Correct,
right?
yeah.
उससे बड़ा तो communication का mode कुछ है ही नहीं.
Yeah.
Like you encounter the entire public through your film
Yeah.
and there's a
Correct.
message.
Yeah. Yeah.
और आप एक पूरा generation को उसके through affect करते हो. So we are a byproduct of films, right?
Absolutely.
हम लोग film से सीखे.
बिल्कुल.
Recently-
Very powerful tool.
Right. One of the most, I guess,
Very powerful
tool. आने वाले समय metaverse, AI वगैरह जरूर होंगे.
But this is the main.
Film is the most powerful tool
It's
to
a
change the
mass
society.
media.
It encounter the mass media, right? Newspaper. तो सारे ही mediums है. तो इन सब का एक तो value है हमारे society में. तो हम लोग जिस पे focus करना चाहते हैं कि इन सब का importance, okay, सारे medium का कैसे हम लोग एक एक मीडियम को यूज कर सकते हैं अपने स्टेज ऑफ लाइफ में.
Right.
जैसे स्टूडेंट लाइफ का बात करें जिसमें आर्ट इज अ चेंजर इन द सोसाइटी, आर्ट एंड डिजाइन. तो म्यूजिक इंडस्ट्री में इसका क्या वैल्यू है मीडियम का?
Sure. Now, जैसे अमरीश जी ने बताया, like when you talk about the 7 C's, now when you talk about concise content,
You say na content is kingdom.
is key,
For me,
yes.
it is a kingdom.
Yeah.
The person who is handling the content, they are the key. They are the king.
Yeah, today we have content developers,
Right.
professionals who are spending so much of time just doing this, developing content on social media, Instagram. And it's not easy. It might look, but एक reel बनाने के लिए 5 घंटे लग जाता है to get it perfect.
Definitely.
So it requires a lot
आप लोग
of
देख रहे
people.
हो वीडियो के थ्रू हम लोग इस मैसेज को पहुंचाना चाहते हैं, ओके, और इसका एक रील भी हम लोग बनाएंगे. तो इट्स अ
takes
accepted
time.
mode.
Yeah, it is accepted mode.
Accepted mode because सबको पता है कि एक कंटेंट का पावरफुल तभी वो इम्पैक्ट करेगा जब उसका एक रील आएगा. उससे मैं उसको हम लोग एडवर्टाइजिंग टूल बोलते हैं, मतलब प्रोमो भी बोलते हैं. एंड देन अ बिग वीडियो विल कम अप. तो ये एक मीडियम ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन है.
There's a lot of editing required.
Right.
Okay, now you put your content out there, but you can't put a raw file out there, no? You have to sit in
Presentation
edit,
should be
presentation. So now what we were talking about presentation, I'm not getting up, but presentation is also key. You got the content, but how are you going to present the content? Now presenting the content can be anything. It can be through free speech, it can be through a reel, it can be any multimedia platform, but today we're using social media in a very big way because now the traditional modes of marketing have kind of become redundant. वो न्यूज़पेपर में ad दे दिया. Why do you think people have stopped giving ads in newspapers?
Definitely.
People are putting in social media. Today, wedding invite. People have stopped wasting money on
Print
these
cards
paper
and-
cards.
Right.
Today, even I've gone to very, very good families who have this astronomical budget in weddings, but they are sending you e-invites. Why? Because firstly, A, you're cutting down on the cost. B, you're not cutting trees for that. C, the communication is easy because everybody has mobile phones, and today this has become the next.
इट्स इंस्टेंट मोड ऑफ
Instant mode of communication.
तुरंत में आपके पास, आप दिल्ली में हो, आपको कार्ड भेजने में आई थिंक 2 दिन लगेगा.
ज़्यादा दिन लग जाएगा.
हाँ,
You'll have to courier
और
it.
हो सकता है कोरियर बीच में अटक भी जाए, बट मोबाइल में वो तुरंत से पहुंच जाएगा आपके
Yeah.
सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म के थ्रू या तो मेल के थ्रू.
So
इट्स अ वेरी इजी.
So we also need to reinvent with the changing times. We can't stick to the traditional method. Yes, that is important. I'm saying that card ka concept definitely is nice.
To give a vibe of the tradition, we have to keep it.
है, आज भी इस्तेमाल
आज भी
करते
चलता
हैं.
है.
ऐसा नहीं कि नहीं होता. But what I'm saying is, we also as communicators need to get our game up. So how do you get the game up is this side is there, but we are actually also understanding what is the next generation doing. How do we catch up? How do we move one, a foot ahead? So be very active with the game in communication. Communication, not only just speaking. You have to use your social media. You have to use your email. You have to use your multimedia, your PowerPoint presentation. Today you will be going out meeting a client. How is your PPT? How are you going to present it? You have to be very perfect in that. And speaking, when you're explaining the slides to the client, you have to also speak and explain the slides. What's in it for me again? Because it's not about meeting your target. It's meeting customer expectation, giving him the wow factor. Wow factor is like, wow, I didn't expect this, but you gave a surprise, right?
Definitely.
So that is known as a wow factor. So always as good communicators, make sure that you have the wow factor. Whatever you are trying to sell or not sell, you can just be communicators, you might be just media broadcasters, but wow factor होना चाहिए.
So understanding the media of communication, the medium and the vehicles, it's a long process obviously. But थोड़ा content पे जब बात करते हैं तो content जैसे we know that it's a kingdom where there is a king who understand content better, they become the king.
Yeah.
Right? तो कंटेंट कैसा होना चाहिए हमारे लिए जिसमें 7 C's बिलोंग्स करते हैं.
Brevity, concise. अब आप PPT बना रहे हैं, you're putting too many lines, so you're sounding verbose. Nobody is interested in seeing 13 lines on a PPT slide.
Definitely, they will not read.
They will not read.
They are listening to you.
They're
You are
listening
there
to
for
you.
that.
Yeah. So the idea they're listening to you, nobody is interested in seeing all that content. 3-4 lines, but they're looking at you, how you're delivering, how you're facilitating the
I'm
thing.
interrupting.
Yeah, sure.
आप मुझे एक solution बताओ. I know that, but I need to tell the audience कि जब एक speaker है वहाँ पे, someone is speaking on for the public, why they are putting up a visual representation?
Okay,
What is
sure.
the uses?
Okay.
क्यों
So
देना?
firstly, what I'm saying is not mandatory. B, why it can be used, but don't make it too verbose. You can use it as a reference point. So today, if I am training you, I am facilitating a workshop, if I have a PPT rolling there, it is not that I am going through this. This is for your context. We only give you the cue points, the cue words. The content the person is delivering to you verbatim, orally. That is for you just as a reference point. You don't have to look and go. You have to look at the audience. What is running behind you is only used as a reference point. You may or may not use it, but people understand more by visual. Visual drilling.
Yeah, that is a highlighting
Highlight,
point, right?
pictorial, pictography, visual drill. So visual drill in communicators, what we mean by visual drill is people will understand or remember a photograph.
Right.
That is known as visual drilling. Okay, and if you remember, I had made you do some communication drills because you will remember the song that ta 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 pa 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 ka 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 ka. So you understand the drill more. So drill can be oral, drill can be pictorial. People understand drills more. So use it as an image, but the communication will be from your end.
Means we are trying to emphasize on a point like अगर आप कुछ रेडियो में सुनते हो तो आपको जितना याद रहेगा ना उससे ज़्यादा अगर कोई मूवी देख रहे हो जहाँ पे विजुअली और ऑडियो दोनों आपको एक साथ मिल रहा है तो आपको ज़्यादा मेमोरी में रहेगा, आपका रिमेंबर रहेगा, मतलब आपके दिमाग में वो ज़्यादा देर तक रहता है एंड यू कैन विजुअलाइज ईजिली थिंग्स. आप उसको जल्दी से ट्रांसफॉर्म कर सकते हो अपने थॉट ऑफ एक्शन में. ओके, तो इसका डिफरेंस यही है. जैसे आप अगर कुछ रीड करते हो, रीडिंग बुक्स नाउ डेज आर गॉन वैनिश स्टडी. या सो आजकल पढ़ाई में मतलब रीडिंग में पीपल आर नॉट सो मच कीन. व्हाई? बिकॉज आजकल विजुअल मोड इतना इम्पैक्टफुल हो गया है, अपीलिंग हो गया है, अट्रैक्टिव हो गया है सारी चीज़ कि पीपल यू आर नॉट यूज टू ऑफ रीडिंग. आपको वो मोड सही नहीं लग रहा है. बिकॉज क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम इज गेटिंग द थॉट प्रोसेस इन. मतलब आपको जो थॉट मिलना चाहिए वो उससे नहीं आता है रीडिंग से. आप तुरंत से उसका इम्पैक्ट आपके ब्रेन में नहीं होता है जितना विजुअल रिप्रेजेंटेशन से हो सकता है. विजुअल प्लस ऑडियो दोनों एक साथ जितना इम्पैक्टफुल हो सकता है. दैट्स वाई मोस्ट ऑफ द स्पीकर्स और जो पब्लिक रिप्रेजेंटर होते हैं वो विजुअल मोड अप्लाई करते हैं एज अ पार्ट ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशन. बट उसका इम्पोर्टेंस वही है कि आपको दोनों याद रखें. मैं जब वर्बली कुछ बात कर रहा हूँ और पीछे में कुछ विजुअलाइज हो रहा है, दैट इज एन इम्पॉर्टेंट पार्ट सो दैट यू कैन कीप इट इन माइंड. रिकॉल वैल्यू क्रिएट होता है, राइट? सो दैट्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट फॉर अस. ओके मैम, अपने तरफ से आप क्या आइडिया देना चाहते हो फॉर अ स्टेज ऑफ लाइफ, लाइक प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में एक कम्युनिकेटर, इफेक्टिव कम्युनिकेटर कैसे हो जाए प्रोफेशनल लाइफ में?
सो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज प्रैक्टिस मेक्स परफेक्ट. Okay, you have to practice every day. Like Rome was not built in a day, there's a saying, right? So you have to constantly build, constantly strive to be a good communicator, work on your language, verbal, non-verbal, learn, know more about your content. Also keep your ears and eyes open. What is the next thing that is going? AI, how do you use ChatGPT? Okay, what is the next mode? So be very ahead in technology. Technologically be very sound, because what is the language of the future? Computers. So you have to be adept in technology. You have to know. Now photographs. We all use social media. We all love clicking pictures, right? But do we know the art of photography?
Even the impact of that photo.
Impact of that thing.
Photo, right.
Editing pictures.
Right.
That is also communication. ये नहीं कि वो कैमरा खोल दिया फोटो खींच ली. There's a technique. How do you get the semblance? What is the background? Today, if you go on Instagram, people are teaching you को आप phone को उल्टा करिए, उसको 1.5 में लाइए, उसको zoom in करिए. People are doing workshops for that because this is big business, social media, and you have to know how to put the perfect picture. You know, what are the angles? Am I looking fat? Am I looking thin? People are bothered about all this also.
Right.
Only when they...
Because that is a content.
This is a content.
That is a content.
All this is content.
Content means concise, concrete, complete.
Yes.
Coherent. It has to be coherent.
Yeah. So today it has to be coherent.
Right.
It has to be very clear. It has to be concise. You can't write essays.
मतलब बहुत कोई मतलब पूरा कहानी बोल देते हैं और ऑडियंस ब्लैंक हो जाते हैं.
ब्लैंक हो जाता है.
राइट. सो यू हैव टू वेरी मच कंसाइज एंड इट शुड कंप्लीट द आइडिया. एक लाइन में भी आप अगर बात कर रहे हो तो वो पूरा सेंटेंस का आइडिया दे देना चाहिए उस लाइन में. जैसे हम लोग पहले ऐसे लिखते थे और उसको हम लोग थोड़ा सा मतलब स्मॉल कंसाइज वे में समरी उसको देना पड़ता था. राइट. So you have to summarize the entire context. Okay, so that is a part of the and importance of the content nowadays.
Absolutely.
तो आज का जो हमारा सेशन है इसमें content that is obviously an important part because that is a part of communication. Content के अलावा medium जो इसके थ्रू content flow करता है, जिसके थ्रू वो vehicle के थ्रू वो एक receiver के पास जाता है, and obviously the interchanging persons.
Yes.
ये तीनों बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इसमें पर्सन भी हो सकते हैं, इसमें टेक्निकल जो मशीन्स है वो भी हो सकते हैं. अल्टीमेटली ह्यूमन बीइंग इज गोइंग टू टेक रोल चार्ज ऑफ द एंटायर टेक्निकल टूल्स. तो ये तीन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है. इस पर हमने डिस्कशन किया और शायरा मैम के बारे में वी ऑल नो दैट शी हैज़ बीन अ कंटिन्यूअस सोशल इन्फ्लुएंसर. सोसाइटी के लिए बहुत कुछ मैडम कर रही है और आपको कम्युनिकेशन का इम्पैक्ट सोसाइटी में कैसे होता है उसका भी मैम ने बहुत सारे इम्पैक्टफुल सेशंस या आप बोल सकते हो लिटरेरी फेस्ट में वगैरह जगह पे इन्होंने बहुत सारे स्पीचेस दिए. एंड शी हैज़ बीन अ कंटिन्यूअस स्पीकर फॉर लॉट्स ऑफ मीडिया, लॉट्स ऑफ चैनल्स इंक्लूडिंग NDTV एंड इंडिया टुडे एंड ऑल. राइट. मैम कलमनिस्ट भी रही है अपने इंडिया टुडे मैगजीन के लिए. शी इज़ अ रेगुलर राइटर फॉर दैट. And being a TEDx speaker, we know that how important person she is in the society.
You can check out on YouTube.
तो ज़्यादा इससे ज़्यादा हम लोग इस सेशन को ड्रैग नहीं करना चाहते. We have lot of to do for the next session. But एक closing point लेके फिर end up करते हैं आज के सेशन को. Yes, please.
So to be effective communicators, you have to constantly work on yourself. Even now, I'm working on myself. I feel okay, now I need to learn photography better to up my game. What do I do about it? So we have to do a self-analysis and see that I won't say drawbacks, I will not say weakness because in communication these are negative words. Areas that we can work upon. When we give feedback, we don't say you're bad in this, you're bad in that. We say we work on the strengths first and say this are your strengths. We don't say these are your weaknesses. As communicators, we say these are the areas that you can work upon. These are the areas that you can excel at. So we have to just change the verbiage and we'll feel better about ourselves and feel better about the other people that we are communicating with.
Yeah, we are trying to address lots of problems that you guys faces in your daily life. जैसे friends zone में communication करना या अपने family के अंदर में communication करना. Because nowadays we see that children stop communicating within their family. They feel more comfortable in their peers, in their friends zone. तो ये कैसे होता है? ये क्यों होता है?
We need to have a very open mind with the children because we've seen that there's so much of pressure today. So the body language and the behavior our parents adopted, we can't have a similar behavior. As a mom of 2 kids, I know it because there's a privacy. We can't be banging the door open and enter. We have to knock and we have to treat them as adults only, even if they are small. You have to ask them. You have to ask them consent. Is it okay if I can put your photo up on social media? You know that. Today you have to ask a child. You can't just randomly put up photos.
They also have some image in the society. They have created within their friends.
So a lot of things that we take for granted, we need to treat them as entities. They are also entities. They also need consent, and we have to accordingly move forward.
Society पहले भी थी, अभी भी है. The medium of society has changed. वो social media हो गया.
Social media हो
right.
गया.
It is added. It is extra add-on in our mental, you know.
But it's something we can't do without also.
Yeah, you can't do without it. Because पहले भी society थी, आगे भी रहेगी, आज भी है. आप society के अलावा कुछ नहीं कर सकते और आपको society में रहना पड़ेगा. ये कहा जाता है ना कि हम हैं, मैं हूँ, हम हैं घर पे, हमारी society है, हमारा देश है, ये world है.
Today elections are being fought on social media. People are using social media. I'm not naming the political parties, but entire election canvassing is going because of social media.
Definitely.
Twitter से चल रहा है. So imagine the mass reach, the potential.
Social media में Facebook, you heard about Facebook के through election campaign पूरा किया गया है यूएसए में पहले.
Yeah.
तो उसके बाद बहुत सारे problems आए.
And they're using this as effective medium of communication.
क्योंकि उनके भी बहुत सारे formats है, rules है, political campaign करने के भी rules है Facebook में. Even you can do fundraising through Facebook.
Facebook fundraising,
There's an
election
option.
scheme. Yes.
Fundraising कर सकते हो, अपने social activity के लिए fundraising.
Social initiative के लिए भी fundraising कर सकते हो.
So every tool is important. Learn it and keep it impactful for your life.
Yes.
ऐसा नहीं कि रेगुलर जाके उसमें टाइम अपना कंज्यूम
And constant research.
Right.
Today when I'm speaking on an issue, I do my research. That's why I'm speaking on policies, no? Today if I'm talking on national policies, I do my research, then I sit on the TV. I don't go sit blindly because I have to argue with the person. So I have to know the points. So I do my research and then I go. I don't go blank. So what I'm saying is everybody needs to keep themselves updated.
Yes.
Communication can be multifold. Today you have artificial intelligence, you have chat GPT, you've got multimedia tools, radio, you've got TV, you've got everything possible. Use it.